Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Marissa Explains It All. Today I am showing you guys how to make this really cute DIY like wood round. It can be used as a wreath for your front door. It can just be used as a wood sign, but they're so cute and I've seen these all over lately. I've been on Pinterest looking and there's a ton of different kinds. I'll pop some up on the screen here and they're all like really cute, and I figured these would be really easy to make, so I went ahead and got all the supplies and I'll show you what I did to make mine. So if that sounds interesting to you, stay tuned and I'll be right back. So I have seen these mainly on Etsy and they retail for somewhere around $60, maybe $80. So they can be quite pricey, but if you have the right materials, you can really make this for much cheaper yourself. So let's talk materials. So the first thing you'll need is a wood round. That'll be the base of your project. And these come in different thicknesses. You can get one that's really thick, that's more like closer to 3/4 of an inch or 1/2 inch, or you can get them really thin, that's only a few centimeters. I found that at my local hardware store, I went to Lowe's and I found that I could find a really thick one, and this is actually used as like the base of a bar stool for about $12. So you can get those if you wanted a thick one. The downside to this one is that it's going to be pretty heavy to hang. So if you want to hang it, I would suggest going with the thinner one just because it's a lot lighter weight. I did find this one on Amazon, and of course I'll put all the prices up on the screen here. Both are 18 inches in diameter. So they're both 18 inches big, and you can get different sizes on Amazon of the thin kind. The next thing you'll need is a wood stain and some paint, depending on what style you want to go with. So I wanted to go with this traditional kind of a darker brown stain on one half and then the white on the other half, and so I'm choosing a wood stain and the white paint. So for the wood stain, I found that at my local hardware store you can actually buy these little cans. They're not very expensive. You can get a little can of like semi-transparent stain, and you can actually have it tinted to whatever color you want. And so I found this little brochure that you can choose from, and I thought that was really neat that they'll tint that for you. Or if you don't like the idea of going with a more semi-transparent stain, they do have more opaque stains that you can purchase. So whatever stain you find, just get a little can of that. You of course won't need much, it's only a few inches. And then the next thing is the paint. And you can use a paint and paintbrush, like a regular latex paint that comes in a can. And of course you can get those samples for a few dollars. Or you can spray paint. And I kind of like the idea of spray paint just because it provides like a nice even coverage and doesn't open yourself up to brush strokes. So if you like the brush strokes or you like a more kind of rustic look, then feel free to just to kind of hand paint it with a brush. But I like spray paint. I'm always partial to spray paint. And the next thing you'll need is some vinyl and a machine to cut your vinyl, like a Cricut or a Silhouette machine. And so if you don't have one of these machines, maybe a friend has one and can cut you some vinyl lettering, or you can purchase these from Etsy. So if you go on Etsy, you can find custom vinyl folks that will make you whatever text that you want, and they'll ship it to you and you can just apply it. The next thing you'll need is some things to decorate the wreath with or the sign with. So you can use a bow, some greenery, whatever you want it to look like. For my Christmas one, I'm actually going to be using a bow, and so I picked up this plaid ribbon just to make myself a nice bubble bow with, and then I have some greenery here from some Christmas picks that I purchased at Michael's on clearance last year. You can buy your bow already made, but I had a hard time finding one that I really liked on Amazon, and so I'm just going to make mine myself. For my other design, I'm not doing as much of a Christmas look. I'm doing more of a farmhouse look, and so I'm going with kind of just a eucalyptus greenery and a different type of ribbon. So it's just a little bit of a different look, but same concept, just whatever greenery or kind of bow that you like. So the last thing you'll need are supplies to hang this if you are going to hang it on the wall, or if you're going to hang it like a wreath. So if you're going to hang it on the wall, I suggest picking up some picture hardware that you can screw into the back of your wood round, and that way it will allow you to hang it like a picture. And if you're going to hang it like a wreath, then if you want to do the thick consistency, I would suggest a nail gun and some burlap. If you're hanging it, it's quite heavy, and I think the burlap is probably the best material for you to use, and I don't think hot glue would hold the weight, so I suggest a nail gun to secure it to the back. If you're going to use the thinner consistency round, I think the hot glue would hold it, and regular ribbon or burlap to hang that one would be just fine. It's much, much lighter. And of course, if you don't intend to hang it at all and you just want to prop it up on your counter or prop it up somewhere in like a stand, like a picture stand, then of course you don't need to do anything to the back of it to hang. You would just prop it up. So those are the supplies. Let's get started with the construction. I didn't mention tape. You do need some tape actually to go ahead and tape off. So my first step is going to be to tape off the wood round and start with the spray paint. I think it's easier to start with spray paint because if there's any overspray, you can kind of help control that, and you can, then stain over it with your stain. But if you're careful, it may not matter like which one you do first, the paint or the stain. So just take your pick. I'm going to start with the Christmas kind of sign, and then I'll go into the more farmhouse sign next. So starting with my wood round, I'm just going to start with this thicker one, and I'm going to do, of course, the 1/2 the white and then 1/2 the wood stain. And so I'm just taking my Scotch tape here. I just have like a nice quality painter's tape to help, keep everything nice and sealed. I'm going to go ahead and tip it just a little bit so I can see and try to make sure it's a little bit level. And I'm just kind of gauging where I want the tape to fall. I'm going to go ahead and paint, spray paint underneath the tape. So I would kind of want to make sure that it's a little bit above the halfway mark. And I'm just going to go ahead and wrap it around the sides as well, because I want to make sure that I also paint the sides so that they're not unfinished. I'm also going to tape off, or kind of just mark off, using some printer paper. I tend to be pretty messy when I spray paint, and so I just kind of want to make sure I'm not getting spray paint everywhere. So I usually use a couple pieces of copy paper and just kind of wrap it around so that the overspray doesn't get everywhere and mess up my project. So just a couple pieces here. It doesn't really need to be tight or anything. Just kind of loosely drape it and make sure that's there. So here I am outside doing both of my signs. I've already actually taped off the other one as well. And I'm just using a white gloss spray paint to go ahead and just give it a nice coat. Just kind of hit the sides as well. And it's not as much of a big deal on the smaller, thinner sign, but the bigger ones certainly want to get all the edges here. I'm just kind of being careful to get all the edges. And this may take 2 coats. I let it dry usually, and while it's drying overnight, I'll make my bow. And so what I want to do is make this sort of loopy bow. And again, you might be able to find these on Amazon, but I just couldn't find one that I really liked that was the right size, and so I figured I would just make my own. So I'm starting with a couple of pieces of ribbon here. So I've got my plaid buffalo and then a regular plaid. So I'm using 2.5 inch width here for mine. So to start with your bow, go ahead and make a loop. Just kind of wrap it around and make a nice loop with it. And then take the back, I'm just going to show you the back here, and pinch it into your fingers and just kind of hold it. And you're always going to hold the back as you work. So I'm always going to kind of hold the back. And so give yourself a little bit of slack here. And then you want to make a loop on each side. And so I'm going to start with one side, just kind of fold it over, and it is wired, which does help. And then of course pinch the back down so you can kind of see that. And then I'm going to go ahead and do another one on the other side just by making a little loop. Give yourself more slack. My ribbon kept creeping up on me. And then of course just pinch it down in the back every time you make a loop, just so that it's nice and pinched in the back there. And then now that I've got one on each side and then like a bow in the middle, I'm going to do one diagonally. And so you can kind of shape it a little bit and make your loop kind of go in an X format, like kind of X form like fashion. And so I'm just going to kind of take that and pinch that down in the back, and then diagonally, of course, do another like loop on the other side, and then pinch that down in the back. And then, of course, now that I've got it on the cross and then, of course, the diagonal, I'm going to do the other way. I want to do the other diagonal. And so I'm going to go ahead and take my ribbon, give myself a little bit more room, and then do the diagonal the other way. So basically you're making like a cross and then an X. And so just kind of move the ribbon to where you need it and shape yourself a little loop again, just kind of pinching in the back here, and then make your last loop in an X. And you can do more loops if you want, but this is what it would look like, and I'm happy with the way that looks. And so I think for me, I'm kind of ready to finish it off. If you wanted to make tails and just kind of make tails for your bow, you would take a nice long piece, make a big long loop, and then grab that, and then you would actually take and cut it right here, and those would be your 2 tails that would stick out. But I don't want tails for mine because I want to just glue it flat to my wreath, so I'm just going to go ahead and cut it here. And then I'm taking just a zip tie or twist tie that came with the ribbon, and I'm just going to thread it through everywhere that my hands were. So wherever I was pinching, I'm just going to thread it all the way through all those layers of ribbon and go ahead and twist it. And I do twist quite a few times just to make sure that it's really nice and tight and secure in the back, because you don't really want it to be loose and your loops to fall out. And so anywhere that you had your hands, that's where it is. And then you can use your these little ends of your twist tie to attach it to something. I just kind of tuck it out of the way because I'm going to hot glue mine down. And then here you can just sort of fluff out your bow. Again, the wire helps. Having a wired ribbon really helps kind of help it keep its shape, and so you can sort of fluff it out and move your loops a little bit around. But generally, after you're done kind of messing with it, this is what it'll look like, and it looks good for my purpose, so I'm happy with it. So once your paint is dry, I kind of waited 24 hours and came back, go ahead and take off your tape. And so I love this like straight clean line. This is so satisfying. Now I'm going to go ahead and tape off and do the wood stain. And so again, grabbing my tape, and I'm going to be really careful and just kind of take my time in lining up that line to make sure that none of the white shows. I just kind of want it to be like that perfect clean edge. And let's go ahead and stain. So I've grabbed myself a towel, just like a little wash rag that I can throw away and like on my stain, and then a paper plate, and then of course some gloves. You definitely want to wear gloves for this process. So I'm taking my the stain that I already had, and I'm just going to kind of dip my rag into it. And I do like the way that it applies with a rag versus like a brush, just personally. But go ahead and start swiping your stain on, and you don't need to do it too thick. If you want to kind of see some of the wood grain, I think this is maybe a semi-transparent stain. You just want to make sure that you're not putting on super thick, but get a nice big glob on there. And I'm being careful around the tape line just to kind of make sure I don't get like globs or anything. But yep, just make sure you go all the way around and apply a nice thin layer of your stain. And then I am doing the sides as well. Just wanted to demonstrate that I do the sides. And it does get on the back. I mean, it does get really kind of messy on the back. So if you don't want the back messy, you can also tape that off as well. But this is what it looks like, and set it out to dry. This didn't take very long to dry, maybe a few hours. I think it just kind of seeps into the wood. So now that it's dry, go ahead and take on, and you can see actually my messy job on the back, which, again, if you really cared about that, you could stain over the back, or you could just tape off so that you don't get stained there. I didn't really care because it's for me, and I'm just going to put it on the back, on the wall, so it didn't matter to me. But if it matters to you or you're giving it as a gift, just be aware of that. You can always tape it off. So this is what it looks like, that beautiful clean line. I did put this mat underneath just because the white like blends right into my white table. You can't really see it. So I put the mat underneath so you could kind of see what it looks like. Now it's time for us to actually place the vinyl lettering. So I'm grabbing my Merry Christmas lettering that I've already weeded. I'm just kind of putting my transfer tape on here and burnishing it. Make sure your letters are centered, and go ahead and take your tool and scrape it down. And if you don't have one of these tools and you bought your vinyl from Etsy or something like that, you can just use an old credit card. That also works just as well. Just be careful to get everything stuck down. And I went slowly when I was peeling this off, just so none of my letters came back up. And then that is what it looks like. I give it one more pass through with the tool just to make sure it's all stuck down. And then it's time for the fun part, which is decorating the top. So I'm grabbing my greenery picks, and I'm just kind of taking one pick and kind of picked it apart into little sprigs. And so I think I got this pick for like 70 cents or maybe $1 on sale. So just kind of lay everything out, get it to looking like you want it to look, and then it's time for the hot glue. So heat up your glue gun and then start to glue down your pieces. I'm gluing the stems, and I'm also gluing kind of some of the leaves down as well, just so they're really nice and stuck on, nice and tight. And then apply your bow, just again with a ton of hot glue. So I think I fix everything with hot glue and spray paint. I'm pretty sure it's like my whole method of fixing things. Just grab your bow and make sure you press down nice and firmly so that it is nestled in there and making good contact with the board. And then you can kind of spend time fluffing out your bow and getting the loops exactly where you want them. Otherwise, this is the finished product. It is so pretty. I think this is gorgeous, and it is exactly what I was hoping it would turn out. And you can either affix your stuff to hang it or prop it up. Let's start with the farmhouse sign now. So this, I'm gonna go ahead and do natural wood on half and then paint on half, of course. And so I'm just starting out here with taping off. And this one I'm going to do a little bit, I think above half, similar concept as last time, to where it's not quite half and half, it's just a little bit above. So taping my painter's tape and just wrapping those around the sides. I did the same method where I taped off first, and of course you've already seen me spray it, so once that was done I took all the tape and things off, and nice clean lines are here, and now it's time to apply the vinyl. So I have my vinyl here and I've already affixed it to my transfer tape, and I'm just going to kind of carefully peel that off. And then this time I actually like the way it looked. Instead of doing all in the white space, I like the way it looked to do half in the natural wood and half in the white. So I did that, making sure it was straight, and just use your tool to make sure you scrape it down nice and well. Go slowly there. And now it's time for the fun part, to decorate. Again, I'm just kind of taking my greenery and just sort of laying out what I think would look nice here. And these I found were too long. I did buy these on Amazon, and they're a little bit too long, so I think I need to kind of trim some of them down. So I'm just taking wire cutters here, and I am snipping at the place where I need them to be. So I'm doing this process for all of my eucalyptus leaves so that they're much shorter and easier to place. And so once I have them all cut and kind of place them how I like them, now it's time, of course, to heat up my handy dandy glue gun, which has also seen a lot of things. And I'm actually going to take a couple of the leaves off of the bottom to make it easier for the hot glue to kind of stick to the stems. And these plants were quite stiff, so they kind of really needed some trimming to help the stems stay down. And so then, after the leaves were placed, again, a ton of hot glue on my bow here, just to make sure it's not going anywhere. And then get rid of all the hot glue strings that get in the way, and then press your bow down nice and firmly. So to hang this one, I could use burlap or something. I do want to hang it instead of propping it up. So I can use, I decided not to use the burlap. I like the jute better, and I think it's strong enough for the weight. And so I'm just cutting myself 18 inches here, roughly the diameter of the wreath actually, looping it around, and then I'm kind of placing it in the back just to see where it should fall. You don't want it to be off center because then it'll hang crooked, and so make sure you're kind of, getting it right in the center, right in the midline. And so once you have it kind of marked where it should go and right in the center, flip it around, and then of course take some hot glue to it. And I do just some to secure the ends of the jute, and then I do another generous dollop here just to run it all the way to the top so that it's really secure. And that is it. This one is ready to hang, and actually I think I'm going to give this as a gift, but I'm kind of sad I didn't keep it. So this one is all ready to go, and I think it turned out really great and ready for hanging. So that is it. I think they both turned out so cute. I'm loving them, and I'm hoping to give one as a gift. So I'm keeping one for me though. So I'm gonna go ahead and place mine in my house and wrap the other one up for gifting. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, hopefully you guys found this helpful. Feel free to subscribe to the channel, and I'll bring you more DIYs, tutorials, and reviews. And I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.